June 24th, 2024 council meeting is called to session at 7 p.m. May I get roll call?
Mayor Candace Machado,
Here.
Councilmember Daisha Edwards,
Here.
Councilmember Greg Lustig asked to be excused tonight, Councilmember Phil Gerke,
Here.
Councilmember Alana Dino asked to be excused tonight, Town Attorney Scott Murray,
Here.
Town Engineer Shane Porter,
Here.
Town Treasurer Lexi Erickson,
Here.
Chief of Police Mike Thompson,
Here.
Fire Chief Leo Malson,
Here.
Public Works Director Robert Llewellyn,
Here.
Town Clerk Janelle Underwood, and the rest of the citizens.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, approval of agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
All motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of agenda passes. All right, line item 1, consent agenda. Approval of minutes for regular meeting June 10, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
All motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Where did that sound come from? Okay. All right. Line item 2, public hearing, 7 p.m. business committed grant.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. So the town of Evansville intends to submit an application for a business-ready community business committed grant for water, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and roadway improvements to the existing Wildcat and Mystery Bridge roads, as well as the extension of Mystery Bridge Road to the south, extension of Wildcat Road to the west, and a new roadway construction, new roadway connection to East Yellowstone Highway, along with the new water, sewer, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer improvements within the new roads to serve the proposed Mesa Solutions facility as well as other land for future light industrial development. And tonight, the town is seeking citizen input regarding this project, which is the purpose of this public hearing is to hear any public comment for or against the grant application.
Okay, so we'll open it up to public comments. Do we have any public comments? Public comments. Last call for public comments. All right, public comments are closed at 7:02 p.m. Line item 3, resolution number 6-2024, a resolution authorizing submission of a business committed grant.
Madam Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is Resolution 6-2024. This is a resolution authorizing submission of application to the Wyoming Business Council under the Business Ready Community Grant and Loan Program for Business Committed Project on behalf of the governing body of the town of Evansville. And it's brought before you tonight for approval for that grant submission.
Any conversation? Discussion? Do I have a motion for number?
Sorry.
Nope, you're okay. Do I have a motion for a resolution? Oh, yes, a resolution authorizing submission of a business committed grant.
I so move.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Line item 4, resolution 7-2024, a resolution adopting the Natrona County Emergency Operations Plan 2024 revision.
Madam Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is Resolution 7-2024. This is a resolution adopting the Natrona County Emergency Operations Plan 2024 revisions. This is a plan that the Fire Chief Leo Malson has been working with the Emergency Management Office on. And if you have any questions concerning those revisions, he's here to answer those.
Any questions or discussion? Do I have a motion for resolution adopting the Natrona County Emergency Operations Plan 2024 revision?
All motion?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Line item 5, ordinance number 5-2024, amendment of fiscal year 2023-2024 budget, third and final reading.
Madam Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is ordinance 5-2024. This is an ordinance providing for the amendment of the annual budget for the town of Evansville, Wyoming from July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. Section 1, the following sums of money are anticipated as revenue for the general fund, enterprise fund, capital improvement fund, debt service, trust and agency fund, June 30th, 2024. General fund, the grand total is $9,345,983. Enterprise fund grand total is $4,185,068. Capital improvement fund grand total is $2,729,968. Section 2, there is hereby appropriated for expenditure from the general fund, grand total is $4,873,594. Section 3, there is hereby appropriated for expenditures from the enterprise fund, the grand total is $1,614,491. Section 4, there is hereby appropriated for expenditures from the capital fund, the grand total is $1,678,388. It's brought before you tonight on third and final reading, and I will note that there has been some changes made, so I would ask that the ordinance 5-2024 is approved, amended, to amend it, and then approved as amended. And the treasurer provided the changes in the changes of that ordinance, and they were highlighted as part of your packet, and part of it was under revenue and part of it was under expenditures.
Do I have a motion to approve number 5-2024 ordinance amendment of fiscal year 2023-2024 budget, third and final reading? Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Line item 6, ordinance number 6-2024 fiscal year 2024-2025 budget, third and final reading.
Madam Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is ordinance 6-2024. This is an ordinance appropriate amount of money necessary to defray all expenses and liabilities of the town of Evansville for fiscal year July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Section 1, the following sums of money are anticipated as revenue for the general fund, capital improvement fund, debt service fund, trust agency fund, June 30th, 2025. General fund is $9,997,261. Enterprise fund is $4,579,868. Capital improvement fund is $2,167,978. Section 2, there is hereby appropriated for expenditures from the general fund. The grand total is $5,111,828. Section 3, there is hereby appropriated for expenditures from the enterprise fund. The grand total is $1,657,052. Section 4, there is hereby appropriated for expenditures from the capital fund, $266,571. It's brought before you tonight, amended on third and final reading, and the main purpose for the amendments is the impact funds that we will be receiving for the Cedar Springs and Anacline projects, and then the general fund added in an increase for the community expenses to fund parades and Santa Claus and the haunted house. Brought before you tonight on third and final reading. I'm just looking for approval to approve this as amended.
Okay. Do I have a motion for ordinance number 6-2024 fiscal year 2024-2025 budget, third and final reading?
I got a few questions, amendments possibly. Where did the figures come from for the general fund income? Are those from history, from?
The state provides numbers and then based on history as well, yes.
Okay. Perfect.
Everything's taken into account.
Ms.
Okay.
Erickson, can I have you come up here so our folks at home can hear?
Are you sure?
You're so soft-spoken.
You'll be on TV this way.
Oh, I don't like that.
So it's just
It's
from
the
state figures that.
They send out a booklet every year that you can work off of, and then you have to take into account historically what
Okay.
you've taken.
In, is, you know how much I love miscellaneous. So what is the miscellaneous income? Do you have any idea what that 172,000 is?
The
Just rough.
172, trying to
I'm
find-
sorry if I put you on the spot.
Do you need a copy
Is this
of
gonna
the document that you're
be?
referring to?
That's like the
or-
sundry
I was gonna say, is
revenues.
this sundry revenues for like
Is lottery-
rental?
Yeah, is lottery broken out separately, or is that under
No,
miscellaneous?
it's separate. That's pure mutual commissions, right?
Mhm.
Is
Perry
the,
Mutual is the gambling, and then
oh,
we
then
get,
the lottery is in the
we get some
miscellaneous?
funds from
Okay,
lottery, yeah.
okay,
The ones that we don't bring in a whole lot throughout the year, those kind of, they have their own line items, but when you put them on the budget, they,
Would that be like your fingerprints and bin
Yes.
inspections?
okay.
Yeah.
I was just,
just the little things that
Yeah.
kind of go all together and make it up.
perfect. Otherwise, you gotta have 2 pages of miscellaneous stuff, right?
Be like $1,000
Yeah.
here, 500 here, yeah.
And then I just got a couple things that I wanna make sure that we have adequate amount of money in the budget for. And one of them is for pothole and street repair. Does Robert or Lexi, do either one of you
I
have?
believe you accounted for that, right, Robert?
Yes, ma'am.
That's part of their
Okay,
working budget, yeah,
like
for streets and alleys.
2 pages worth
2 pages
Yes.
worth?
of potholes and
Vast
repairs?
majority of the potholes are smaller and they're not as expensive to fix. We do have a couple
Sir,
of
can I
pretty
have you
big
come up?
nasty ones.
Just so everyone can hear you at home. I know, I'm bringing everybody
I
up
was gonna say, do
tonight.
you just want us all to come up
Sorry.
here?
So the vast majority of our potholes are smaller potholes and are not as expensive to fix. We do have a couple of big doozy ones. And I also have included into the budget a new piece of equipment for crack filling.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is I've spent some evenings and stuff out driving around and I've got a list now that's like 2.5 8x11 pages. Are there, because I guess maybe people didn't answer the bell when we asked for input. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure we have enough money for quite a bit of work.
We've got the money for plenty of work.
Okay, perfect. And then the second question is you had mentioned to me at one time that there's money set aside to, and I think that's called, is that called Island Street that goes past Butch's?
Oil down,
It's
or
what-
western? Are you talking the street going north and south?
Just the one that crosses the tracks there by Bush's. It goes north and south.
That's western.
Western, okay. That we were gonna repair, we were gonna replace part of that road, is that right?
I wouldn't necessarily say go as far as replace it. We can fix some, we can patch fix like we do the remainder of our streets.
Okay. Cause it's getting pretty bad and I'm sure you've seen that. And even the new section that the state put in is starting to get wavy already from the truck traffic, so. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that we had money appropriated for that.
That's part of my,
That's part of your deal,
yes,
okay,
yes, sir.
perfect. And then, well, I got you here. In the past, and Robert, I know I've had this discussion with you, but in passing mostly, but at one time, YDOT paid us for snow removal and all that stuff on 2026 and the frontage road.
That is my understanding, correct.
Do you think that it's possible to go back and start billing them for that again?
It's a conversation I think that council should have with appropriate state representatives.
So I don't wanna get us too far off topic. I wanna
No.
bring us back to the,
Yeah, but
Budget
I guess is what I'm looking for, is I'm looking for revenue.
okay.
Okay, but, because I've got a couple other little things, but that's perfect. I agree with you. I just, it was missing from the budget and I just thought that that's all I got for you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. The next one is, and I think, Mayor, I think you had maybe mentioned this because of a concern that Alana had about pay for meetings and
So,
stuff like that?
so we'll have to table that because we have to stay
I
within
know.
our ordinance
Okay.
piece of this.
And I guess that's my question, is if we want to raise fees for the council people, I know for county commissioners, for instance, they can't approve their own raises. They have to be after the election. Is that correct? Is
Yeah,
that-
be
That is
moving
correct.
forward from the next
So
election
it
on.
would be like in January, right, correct?
Yeah.
That was my question.
Wonderful.
And I think that's really all I have.
Awesome. Wonderful.
Okay, I told you I was easy.
All right, so do I have a motion for ordinance number 6-2024 fiscal year 2024-2025 budget third and final reading
As amended.
as amended?
I motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Line item 7, ordinance number 7-2024, an ordinance prohibiting fireworks within the town of Evansville, third and final reading.
Madam Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is ordinance 7-2024. This is an ordinance prohibiting fireworks within the town of Evansville, Wyoming, and it's brought before you tonight on third and final reading. And as I will note, last council meeting on second reading, we did add penalties. And so it's brought before you tonight on third and final reading.
Do I have any discussion?
Yes. Sorry. Does anybody know offhand what our court costs are? If somebody gets a ticket for a misdemeanor, what our court costs are? A rough idea?
I don't, I mean, usually those kinds of things, the bond is, there's not an additional court cost. There might be part of it built into the minimum bond schedule, but that would be something that the clerk of court would be able to answer. I don't know, I'm not sure if you do, chief.
There's statutory stuff for court costs.
Okay.
Don't ask me what it is, I just know it's statutory because there's several portions that deal with things that we may or may not have adopted, so the court clerk's the one that really could answer that.
Okay, so Chief, do you know what our lowest fine is that for like whatever, for a misdemeanor type of thing, like
Right.
$50?
Probably $50.
Okay,
Dog at large.
okay,
Yeah, I think dog at large is,
yeah, perfect. That's what I was looking for. Anyway, I would like to propose an amendment that we change the penalties or fines to the first offense to be $50. Okay, I think, and the second offense, $250, and the third offense, $500. And the reason that I think we should lower it to the $50 is just really quickly is because maybe sometimes it's done out of ignorance, and sometimes, I mean, it's kind of a fire hazard when they do that, and I know we've had lots of calls lately already, and it's a noise thing, but to make it somewhat palatable, I think we had the first fine at more than that, like 150 or something, is that correct?
Mhm.
Anyway, I'm basically proposing that we lower that to $50 to make it a little bit more palatable, and then goes up in a hurry after that. If you're a slow learner, it costs money.
Thoughts? Chief, would you like to weigh in as well?
I think as far as the penalties, it is your discretion as the elected representatives of the community to make that decision.
Ms. Edwards, thoughts?
Sounds great.
So we're proposing the amendment of the first offense $50, the second offense $250, and the third offense $500.
Correct. And I so move.
All right, so do I have a motion for ordinance number 7-2024, an ordinance prohibiting fireworks within the town of Evansville, Janelle, you may need to help me out with this next part.
So a motion to amend ordinance 7-2024 to read the first offense, the bond shall be a minimum of $50.
Do I have a motion?
I think we would probably include all three changes in that motion, right? Because we were saying as proposed, it's first offense would be 50, second offense, I think you said
250.
Okay. And third offense?
Oh, third offense, did you make
Third
it
offense to 500.
to 500? Okay, so a motion to amend ordinance 7-2024 for the first offense to be set at $50, the second offense to be set at $250, and the third offense must appear before the judge, and a bond shall not be no more than $500.
Do I have a motion?
I move.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
So then I need a motion to approve ordinance 7-2024 on third and final reading.
Do I have a motion to approve number 7-2024 on third and final reading?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Line item 8, ordinance number 8-2024, an ordinance approving the Wildcat edition on second reading.
Madam Mayor, Council, brought before you tonight is ordinance 8-2024. This is an ordinance approving the Wildcat edition, town of Evansville, that's brought before you tonight on second reading.
Any discussion? All right, do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 8-2024, an ordinance approving the Wildcat edition?
All motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Line item 9, ordinance number 9-2024, an ordinance to amend chapter 38-1-12, penalties for use of electronic devices while operating a motor vehicle on second reading.
Madam Mayor, Council, brought before you tonight is ordinance 9-2024. This is an ordinance to amend chapter 38-1-12 to define the penalties for use of portable electronic devices while operating a motor vehicle, and it's brought before you tonight on second reading.
Any discussion?
Question. What, and I meant to write this down, but what are the penalties?
That's what my question was too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I had the same one.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Let's see, the penalties upon first offense, the penalty is a minimum of $120. Upon second offense, the minimum bond shall be $200. Upon third or subsequent offense, the offender shall appear before the municipal judge, be fined not less than $300 or more than $750, and or up to 6 months of incarceration or probation. And the fourth penalty, in the case of both violating the ordinance and being involved in an accident, the offender shall be fined not less than $550 or more than $750 or up to 6 months of incarceration unless it is a second or subsequent offense. The offender shall see the judge and receive a fine not less than $750 and incarceration up to 6 months and probation.
Do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 9-2024, an ordinance to amend chapter 38-1-12, penalties for use of electronic devices while operating a motor vehicle on second reading?
All motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Line item 10, ordinance number 10-2024, amend chapter 30-4-10, penalties for the crime of prowling, first reading.
Madam Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is ordinance 10-2024. This is an ordinance to amend chapter 30-4-10, penalties for the crime of prowling within the town of Evansville, Wyoming. This is an ordinance that currently is on the books, but when the new code book was updated, they left out the section for penalty, and so we are just adding penalty back into that crime of prowling. Brought before you tonight on first reading.
Any discussion?
Yeah, Chief Thompson, what is prowling?
Councilman, so I don't have the entire ordinance in front of me.
Yeah,
So prowling, so let me start with a little history of why this came into play. Several years ago, we had quite a few folks going around and going on people's private property, checking car doors, and if they were unlocked, they were getting into their cars, that kind of thing. So prowling is being on private property, getting into things that you wouldn't normally have permission to do, is how that came about. So this was intended to curb that, which it has. So it's defined. Oh, you didn't give me the defined portion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's see if I have.
What is it, 30-40?
Yeah,
30-4.
3410. So we can give you the actual definition of it. I can give you the history of it.
I'm assuming that most of it is for, a lot of it is probably at hotels, that type of thing, is that?
Not so much hotels, actually private property,
Private
specific like your driveway.
Okay.
So under A, prowling, any person who while prowling, loitering, or wandering in or around the private property of another, whether no trespassing is posted or not, at any time peeks in the door of a window of any building, structure, or automobile, physically checks the doors or determines if they are locked or unlocked without visible or lawful business with the owner or occupant, or in a manner not usual for law-abiding individuals under circumstances that warrant a justifiable and reasonable alarm of immediate concern for safety of persons or property in the vicinity shall be guilty of prowling. There's a couple more sections, but that's the root
That's
of
a basic.
the yes.
So does that cover like a hotel parking lot, a business
It can.
parking lot?
So when you go back to what it talks about, lawful business, so as a motel, generally the only people who would be on their property is somebody who's staying or visiting somebody staying there. So if they call and say, hey, we've got somebody out here that's checking doors or doing things that a normal, reasonable person wouldn't be doing, that opens that door for us. So,
Okay.
yes.
So then if they actually break into the, say I got my car parked out front in my driveway, they break into my car, that's a completely different deal, right?
Correct. It'd be unlawful entry.
Could be, okay.
Since we enacted this, we've only had 2 arrests. I know when it first came about, there was a lot of concerns that we're going to pick on everybody walking on the streets, which clearly is not the case. You're free to go about your way. But again, it's private property. This is intended to protect you and your private property. And that's what it's about.
That's kind of what I needed. Thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 10-2024, amend chapter 30-4-10 penalties for the crime of prowling on first reading?
I'll motion.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Motion passes. Line item 11, Platt Park mailbox paving estimate.
Yeah, Mayor and Council. So a couple of council meetings ago, the mailbox area was discussed and talked about, the paving of that area. So I put together some drawings and a cost estimate, just so council's aware of what that project would entail. And it's just up for, I guess, review discussion tonight. I did, as I was looking at it though, in my cost estimate, I have a force account item, which is basically there to cover any unforeseen things when you're actually bidding the job. But I also have a 10% contingency, and I would suggest removing that 10% contingency because your contingency is basically in the force account. So the number we're looking at, or my estimate of what it would take to pave it with some contingency, is $23,941.25. So I'm open to any questions or discussion related to that, if that's, you were one.
It's kind of my baby, isn't it?
I don't know if that was in line with what you were expecting.
No. This is kind of double what I was thinking. I was thinking somewhere under 10. And when to be honest about when I looked through that, I thought had a conniption. I mean, I understand, and I don't doubt that that's what it costs, but I think we need to look for a cheaper option. And I really want to have that done, but in all good conscience, I can't see us spending $23,941 to fix a problem that really isn't ours.
Mr. Porter, just to clarify, because you and I have had some conversations on the mailboxes, that's the cheapest estimate up to this point?
To do a permanent fix, so in that estimate, I mean, a lot of the problem that's out there is the soft material that gets potholes and whatever. You know, in order to really build it and make a permanent fix, we need to get that material out, we need to compact the subgrade, we need to put a base course in, we need to pave it. You could do it cheaper if you just leveled it out and paved it, but in
It's not
a
gonna
year or
last.
less, it's gonna look just like it does now.
Yeah. No, I agree. I guess, Mayor, my thoughts are that maybe we need to go back to one of my original deals where we turn the boxes around and make use of the concrete that we have there and not spend all that money.
Mr. Porter, even if we turned the mailboxes around, and Mr. Llewellyn, even if we turned the mailboxes around, what kind of ballpark figure would we be looking at to even turn mailboxes around?
I have to go back and look at it, I think, am I wrong to say they're just unbolted and
Yeah.
turned around and rebolted? I don't know, I didn't look at that, so.
And as I remember from prior discussions, correct me if I'm wrong, but in prior discussions, the discussion was had that there wasn't much resident involvement in terms of residents struggling with boxes being turned around. It was more of paving of that area, correct? Am I correct in that understanding? Because that's what I remember from the discussions, is that the discussion was had about residents were more so talking about paving of that area instead of, there wasn't a lot of discussion with residents regarding turning mailboxes around.
There's 2 rows of mailboxes.
So
Yeah, and
my,
we need to take one of those away.
so my current
But you're
concern with turning around mailboxes and adding more work is our public works department right now is down a full-time person and a seasonal person. They've already got a ton of things that they've got on their plate up to this point, and that places additional work on them that is not, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it does not seem as though it's a necessity at this point in time with the amount of projects that you guys have on your list. Would that be
That's
accurate of
agreeable.
me to say that?
That's correct.
Mayor
Okay.
Machado? My thoughts are is that the public works should not have to be involved in this and it should all be contracted out, whatever that costs. And because I don't think it's fair for public works to have to take on that additional work.
So the town would still have to pay for another person to come in and turn mailboxes around, is what I hear you saying. So we would still be incurring a cost to have somebody else come in and handle that. Chief?
Mayor, council, just throwing this out there. I know at one point we were gonna do like a survey with the public. Did that ever happen? And the reason I ask this is we're debating it now, and for whatever reason, you pick whatever option you pick, and if the post office says we agree to have them turned around, my question is, what is the public's side of this? Because if we go and spend $27,000, or if we spend $10,000 with a contractor, and in 2 years, somebody from the public comes back and says, we don't like it this way, we want to change it back. And then are we going to spend the money in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? So I'm asking if we did the survey is what I'm asking, to see what the overall public.
The answer to your question would be no.
And in addition to that, we had a public hearing and nobody showed up. So that's how important it is to them. Just stating a fact. Hope I didn't offend anybody out there, but, and as far as I know, we've had zero input other than that the chief I know has talked to people. I have talked to people at the mailboxes. I know I park out in the street and go to my mailbox. I'm gonna say, the other day, there was so many cars parked there, I couldn't park there, and I just, without going down the block, and there was nobody in the drive-through lane. But there were like 3 or 4 cars that were out in front of the mailboxes parked in the street. And I guess my thoughts again are, we can always move at a very minimal, a lot less than $23,000. We could move the boxes even back a little ways so people could actually park up there if that was a big concern, but I don't think it is. I really don't. You're there a couple minutes to get your mail and you leave.
So Mr. Porter, I have a question for you. So, because you and I have had lots of conversations that prices aren't going down, and they're not gonna go down in the future, probably, up to this point. Even if we were to look at a contractor, ballpark it, how much would we be looking at a contractor to come in and move mailboxes around?
I guess I'd need to know a little more if we were trying to move them back or leave them in the exact same location. And again, if we leave them in the exact same location, it seemed like it's a fairly straightforward project. I don't really
Yeah.
grasp it here.
Sure. And
$5,000, $7,500. I don't know. I honestly don't.
and part of it's going to be that there's 3 mailboxes and 1 package drop that are on the east side of that thing, and those would have to be moved over to the west side.
So there'd be additional concrete.
So if my measurements are correct, there's enough room there, there's enough concrete there, but they are gonna have to probably put in some new bolt holes. And they may have to anyway if we turn them. I don't know what the pattern looks like, to be honest about it.
Miss Edwards, thoughts?
Is that estimate for asphalt and would that cost be more if it was concrete? A concrete pour?
This estimate was for asphalt. And yes, it would be more if it was concrete.
So my only concern, being the mayor of the town, is I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around why we should be spending your ballpark figure of $5,000 or $7,500 to turn around mailboxes. Can anybody explain to me how that would be a good use of town funds? Because if we have a good use of how that's gonna be a good use of town funds, I'm more than willing to hear that, but if that's a ballpark of what we would be looking at to turn around some mailboxes, I struggle with that. I feel like we would be putting our money towards something more necessary and more beneficial, but I could be wrong. But that's at least my 2 cents, is I have a hard time wrapping my mind around how much money we would be putting into turning around mailboxes when the public has not even come forward and said that this is an issue to them. At least that no one's contacted me. So I can only say that for me.
I think that it would ultimately be more than the $5,000 if we ended up moving those other mailboxes and having to re-drill. It's gonna be more than the $5,000.
Just to clarify, to answer your question, Mayor, those mailboxes do probably service 300 households in Evansville. And I guess that would be the reasoning why maybe we should spend some money. I think 23,000 is excessive. And the only other thing that there's a couple other options, I guess, that we could do is if we move those boxes away from the west end over to the east side, we could shorten up that paving area probably by half. But I don't know. But I think we need to, I truly think we need to find a better option.
So is the decision to table this discussion? Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and table the Platt Park mailbox paving. Oh, excuse me. Do I have a motion to table the Platt Park mailbox paving discussion?
Since it's my fault, I'll motion.
You're just fine.
I'll take the blame.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes to table the discussion. Just gonna make a side note. Okay. All right, line item 12, the Evansville Glenrock Animal Shelter MOU.
Madam Mayor, Council, brought before you tonight is the Animal Shelter and Holding Memorandum of Understanding between Evansville and Glenrock. I believe Town Attorney Scott Murray drafted this MOU, so I'm gonna let him take it from here.
Really, this is just a kind of a stopgap measure while the town's moving forward with its animal control facility. And speaking with the police chief, there's a relationship already there with the town of Glenrock. And so this MOU would just allow the town to house animals at that facility for a certain price, and it's a shorter length of time as well, just to allow the town of Evansville to finalize its facility.
And this would just be put in place until we get our animal shelter up and running.
Correct.
I believe there's language to review it every 90 days.
So
Motion?
I'm looking for a motion
I have a
authorizing the
question.
mayor to execute.
Yeah, go ahead.
Discussion. How much is it to partner with Glenrock? Is it a monthly thing?
Says that the town of Evansville will pay the town of Glenrock $10 for every animal that is not returned to its owner and to which no fees for housing are collected from any member of the public.
So it's just based on the level of use
And it's $10 per animal.
for animal.
Okay.
Was there any other fees in
And then
there?
if there's any damage that an animal may cause, there's language in there about that as well. As of today, I've not heard of any changes requested from Chief Felcher in Glenrock. I gave this to him over a week ago. So we'll be the first ones to sign it unless they have a change, but he did not echo that there would probably be a change coming, so.
So,
And it looks like the town of Glenrock may provide said food and be reimbursed by the town of Evansville for the same, or Evansville may supply animal food itself.
so if I read in there correctly too, that, excuse me, I don't put in interrupt anybody, but I think I read something in there that those fees only apply if the fees cannot be collected from the dog's owner or the pet's owner, correct?
Yeah, registration. and
Okay.
stuff.
Do I have a motion to approve the Evansville Glenrock Animal Shelter MOU?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All
Sorry.
those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Motion passes. Line item 13, approval of animal shelter bids.
Take that one. Want me to take this one?
You can start.
Yeah, Mayor Council, so we received bids, on last Monday, which ago today, is when the bids were due, for the, animal shelter, the facility itself. That was a pre-manufactured facility to be delivered on site. We had two bids that came in, both of them are companies in Pennsylvania. The actual, I didn't print mine out, I think, were the bids, actual bids in the packet? Did you put them in the packet? No. I don't know that I got them,
did
got them in
not.
line, but
No.
they were both very complete. They followed the RFP exactly, right to the specific items we requested. It was amazing how close the two prices were, or how close they were together. Trailside Structures bid was $210,321.40, and Horizon Structures is $211,512 even. So as we evaluated the bids, both of them seemed to meet the requirements that we're looking for, the specifications of the project. One of the things that we had questions on is their ability to meet schedule. In the RFP, we had a schedule of, we're trying to be a little bit flexible because we didn't know exactly how long it would be, but we had a deadline of November 1st. Both of them are able to meet that deadline, but actually Mike followed up, Chief Thompson followed up with them. Both of the companies, he followed up with them after the bids were opened. And they're basically within about a week of each other due to timings of when down payments are due and then when they would start, when they start design. They were basically within a week of each other and around mid-September roughly, is kind of how delivery was on both of them. So with them being pretty similar in schedule, I guess it's up to council, to make the decision. But I think that my opinion is I would just go with the lowest price, right on top of each other, and both seem very qualified to provide the type of product that we're looking for.
Any questions? Discussion?
That's just the building, correct?
Correct.
And then what about the concrete and all that other stuff? Do we have any?
Once the bid is selected and they'll start design work on the building
Okay.
structure, then the concrete will come once we have that bid work. And I think Shane talked about doing the design work for that. And we've already started talking with utility companies. So the back end of it will go pretty quickly once one of these two are selected by council with all that.
And that 210 is delivered?
Delivered and set up.
What-
It's gonna come in two halves and it's
Okay.
delivered and set up.
What happened to the one in Laurel?
Same company, just out of Pennsylvania.
Just out of Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was under the impression they made them in
Oh,
Montana.
okay.
Same
okay.
company, just they make them there.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Ms. Edwards?
basically, we could probably be somewhere in that total figure of 300,000 when we're done.
I think we'll be less.
Quite a
Ms.
bit less,
Edwards?
or?
Thoughts?
Tell me know with the gas company, did you get anything from the electric yet?
Not yet, no.
Yeah.
Do you have,
Okay.
Shane, do you have any kind of an idea what the concrete's gonna cost? Just ballpark, just,
Uh,
hold your
I
feet to the
honestly
fire.
have not estimated. I wanted to wait and see which one you went with, because they may have a different requirement to
Okay.
each of the structures, so we didn't get into any
Okay.
detailed design.
okay.
You got a preliminary estimate of roughly around 16,000?
18.
18.
That was the high end.
Okay, that's,
But again, not knowing the requirement, but the preliminary was 18,000.
just don't want to have a building company, we can't put it anywhere.
No.
So,
No,
no,
we
we're
do have
fine,
time.
we're
I
fine.
mean, if the bulk
Okay.
of our September delivery, we have time to get
Okay,
that
perfect,
ready.
perfect.
Ms. Edwards?
I thought we had a design I thought we had a design that we were gonna do.
But the structure,
Uh-huh,
so the structure, the design of the structure is the same. So the bid that went out, it had all the specs with flooring and siding and cages and all that stuff. So that is the design of the structure, which is a manufactured style structure. With building code as in Natrona County, you also have to have engineered stamped Wyoming stuff for like the concrete. So we can't get that until we get the design stamped engineering of the structure, which comes with selecting the bid. So we got a preliminary design that what it's gonna look like, but it doesn't have the engineering side of it.
okay.
So we have to approve the bid
Okay.
first before we go forward. Any thoughts on going with the lowest bid, which would be Trailside for
$210,321.40.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
Do I have a motion to approve the bid to Trailside for,
200.
$210,321.40.
I
I'll-
move.
I'll second. I'm sorry.
all those in favor?
I,
Motion passes.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're just fine. Just got excited about the animal shelter. Okay. Okay, all right, line item 14, engineers report.
So most of everything that we talked about was included in my engineering report. The only item that was in my report that we haven't talked about is I do have a change order to present tonight, a change order number 1 for the new park project. It's a no-cost change order. It was brought to our attention that we had inadvertently used a contract with some old language related to the retainage. So the state statute regarding retainage was modified a few years ago. We used to withhold 10% from every pay request till we got halfway through. Then we stopped holding retainage, so it was 5% total at that point. state statute was changed a few years ago to require 5% all the way along. And so on the first pay request, we held retainage properly, but the contract language isn't correct. And, one of our watchful citizens picked up on that and brought it to our attention, and it was a good catch. And so we're just trying to fix it with the change order just to make it correct. So recommend a motion that the mayor sign change order number 1 with Installation and Services Company, correcting the retainage requirement.
Do I have a motion to
Approve change order number 1
approve change order number 1
for the new park project.
for the new park project? Thank you.
All motion.
Do I have a
Second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve the engineer's report?
All motion to approve the engineer's report.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. 15, public comments from the audience. Do I have public comments from the audience? Last call, public comments from the audience. Public comments closed. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
All motion.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Adjournment at 7:51 PM on June 24th, 2024.